Mm-hmm.
Can we back up for a second though? Because you said something that I wanted to ask you about.
Mm.
He said, and I'm paraphrasing, but he said, I wanted to make up for, pay it forward because we got so screwed over by Lou Pearlman.
Mm.
Do you agree with that statement? Do you feel like you got screwed over?
Yeah, but look, at the same time, I'm thankful for the opportunity, but it certainly was an ugly situation.
Can you guys talk? Now he's dead. You can say whatever you want. Can you guys talk about what happened and how did you were so young?
I still don't think we can go into the
become
specifics,
aware?
but it's just well, honestly, it was me and my uncle, honestly. We had reached the point where we were touring the world, right? And we were playing sold out shows in arenas, not, 200 and 500 seat clubs, but we're playing for 18,000 people a night. And, we're still living in the same house together, trying to rub nickels together. You know what I mean? Trying to pay our phone bill.
Right.
And it just kind of like, Justin brought it up a bit. Everybody started to bring it up a bit. They're just kind of like, you're looking at all of these other artists that are having success, and they're talking about what they're excited to do with their earnings.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And we're just kind of going like, wow, you guys, I thought that money, I guess our money hasn't hit yet.
Still in the pipeline. Still in the pipeline.
And so I ended up reaching out to my uncle, who is a lawyer, but not in this field, not in entertainment law. He was focused on Native American law, actually. But he's like, you know what? I'll just take a quick look at it, and he pointed out some problems right away, just from the amateur eye, And he's like, listen, I want you to talk to some real people, I'm gonna dig around and find some people who do this for real. And when he did that, we had some real eye-opening kind of
And then you brought that to the group.
Yeah.
And then did parents get involved?
Of course, everybody knew. It wasn't like, I wasn't sneaking around or anything like that. Nobody was sneaking around. It was just kind of like, hey, my uncle kind of spotted something. Is it cool if he finds somebody to look at this? And everybody's like, absolutely.
Well, it was easy because that was right when we got our first presentation check.
Yeah.
Here at Lowry's, I think it was.
Yeah.
And, we were all expecting something. We'd been working for years. And we'd had #1 albums and tours, and we'd already have, diamond records.
Yeah.
And we still, again, can't even afford a car. So we got that first check.
What was the check?
$5,000. Yeah, Richard, $5,000. And that's when we definitely went to work. We're like, okay.
Who gave you the check?
Lou.
Did he give it to you like, here you go?
Yes, he was so happy. He brought in Jan Boltz from Germany, our president of our label. They were so excited. And I do remember...
Motherfucker.
I remember Jan you could tell he was disturbed.
Because he's paying them.
Yeah.
Because he was like, you don't understand how much I have to pay him in order for y'all to get crumbs.
Right.
So you could tell he was so embarrassed. But Lou, being Lou, was just like, yeah, and this is great. I mean, they're like, no, but...
And at that point, when he handed you each a check for $5,000.
So we're talking about $25,000.
What do you think he had made from you at that point?
Millions.
Millions.
Yeah. Again, we had played sold out arena tour.
Right. And you're selling merch.
Everything.
The merch alone was, which we didn't make a dime off of because that's a whole different story. But yeah, I mean, the merch alone made more than any of the music and tours probably combined.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a gut punch, to say the least.
I asked because people who are, I've noticed in some of these conversations I've had with musicians, when they talk about business moves or getting screwed over or whatever, I notice in the comments that people really want to hear these stories because there are still people who are looking to us to lead the way for them.
It's interesting, man.
Cautionary tales. Exactly.
Yeah, he presented himself one way, and it is just good salesmanship. To be fair, the guy was a great salesman. Yeah. And by the way, we made a bad deal with him, but he also did some wrongdoing in the deal, which is why we were able to move on from it. But he he was a professional. And that's why when you now look at what he went through, I mean, you're talking about when you can con money from banks and things like that. And we're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars from people who are in finance.
Right.
You know, it's like these people, this is their whole lives. This is all they do is finance, and they still got talked out of that money.
Ripping you guys off was like...
It was easy, you know?
And you're young and you don't want to feel ungrateful, right? You're like, we're so lucky to be in this position.
Did any of you feel like if you rocked the boat too much, that, well, I'm going to replace you?
No.
We could never, I mean, because we put ourselves together, so there's no replacing, you know, the group.
Gotcha.
So that we were very lucky in that, you know, a lot of labels put groups together now, and even back then, but we were lucky that we all kind of found each other with the help of Lou's money, you know, that helped support it and bring us to life. You know, Chris started it, called JC and Justin, then they called me, and you know, so it was all very organic in that way.
Was Justin who called you? Because did he know you from Mississippi?
Yeah, we knew the same vocal coach.
Right.
So my best friend took from Mississippi Showstoppers.
Right.
So he would come down and help with Mississippi Showstoppers as our vocal coach for the group, and I was the only bass at that time.
Right.
You know, in my area. My voice had changed in like seventh grade. I was just immediately a true bass.
Yeah.
And then Justin called and he said, yeah, Lance would be great for this, but his mom will never let him do it.
Really?
She's never gonna let him move, you know, drop out of high school and join a group. There's no way. But
he was wrong.
He was wrong.
Was that because you talked her into it?
Yeah, but she never made it seem like she was against it.
Oh.
You know, she was for sure. But she kind of let it
leery
ride. Yeah, I mean, she was very weird, but you know, she let it ride and see, because I'm sure she thought, yeah, he'll go to Orlando and not make the group. Like,
right.
Like,
or they'll do a couple of gigs and then
we're just like, we're going to come right back, you know.
Right.
But it didn't happen that way. You know, I went down to Orlando, met these guys, fell in love with them. We sang the Star Spangled Banner, and it was just this magical harmony with
like
Robin Wiley, and it just, I don't know, you got the goosies, and I'm like, oh my God, like this is nice, and there was no turning back.
Robin Wiley, we should say, was your primary vocal arranger, and
she's the architect of the early sound of the harmony.
Person
she lived
passed
with
away
us. I mean,
much too young.
Oh yeah.
Was it Chris Kirkpatrick who got you in the group?
Chris called Justin. Justin called me.
How did you know Justin? From
the Mouse Club.
Mouse Club, right?
Yeah. So
weren't you? I never.
We were working on music actually.
Okay, were y'all doing like a duo thing or just kind of writing together?
We were. So I was writing with Robin, and he was writing with Robin, and we were writing on separate things. We were trying to work on our own demos and stuff like that, and we started singing on each other's stuff just for fun. And then I ended up staying with him for a little while because it was the summertime, and then I was going to go back to Maryland and start college, basically, and then and we kind of worked out this plan of going back and forth to Nashville to work with Robin and build up some songs that we could present, you know, each of us in our own way. And then he was just like, when he reached out to me, he was like, we've been writing these songs and having fun. Why don't we see what this is about? This guy Chris called me up, and he's saying it's like a real thing. And we were like, all right, well, it's in Orlando where I had just spent 4 or 5 years. He had just spent 2 years.
Right.
And so I was that's easy.
What was specifically going on with Chris? What was Chris is calling you guys going, hey, we need to do...
It was really out of spite for Chris Kirkpatrick.
Really?
He was in college. He went to college with Howie Dorough from the Backstreet Boys. Howie came into class one day and was like, hey guys, I made this group called the Backstreet Boys, and you know, blah, blah, blah. And Chris was like, well, I didn't get to audition. Why? I would make it before you. It's like, all right. So he found out Lou Pearlman is the one who, you know, put them together. So he cold called Lou Pearlman, was like, if I put a group together, will you fund us? And Lou was like, sure. And that's how it all kind of started.
Holy shit.
It was out of spite of him not even getting to audition for the Backstreet Boys.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good for Chris.
It's very Chris.
And unfortunately, let me guess, Lou didn't say, yeah, and I'll cut you a little extra.
He ain't giving none away.
Yeah.
Wait, where do we hear these demos that you and Justin were doing from 1992?
There's a couple of them. There's a couple of them somewhere.
Are they out? Like, had they
No, they were just
leaked out?
They never came. No, they never came out.
Anything you guys wrote together?
Justin and I, no, but we sang on each other's demos, basically.
Wow, so it was like the embryo of NSYNC.
Maybe.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you're talking about, again, working with Robin, who was crafting the sound, and then...
How did Joey get in?
Joey actually was one of my first friends when I moved to Orlando to do the Mouse Club. He was there because it turns out he had auditioned as well, and got far along in the process, but wasn't the right thing at the right time. You know? And but he was always around in that world, and so we became friends while I was doing the Mouse Club. And then just when I had gotten back, when I just first moved back to Florida to start working on the group, with Chris and Justin at the time, and we were looking to find a bass singer, and literally ran into him, Joey, out and about. I hadn't even called him and let him know I was in town or anything. Ran into him on a Disney property called Pleasure Island, which doesn't even exist anymore.
8 tracks.
Yeah. And ran into him and he's like, "What are you doing?" I thought you would move. I was like, "Yeah, I did move. We're back. We started a band. We're going to crush you." He's like, "I'm in a band." I'm like, "We're going to crush you too then." But it turns out the person that was in his group was Luis Fonsi.
Oh, wow.
Despacito hit. So it's like,
I know.
Yeah.
Fonzie is a pal of mine.
Yeah. So
sweetheart.
So they were in a vocal group, doo-wop
How
group
did
together.
I not know this?
Yeah. So they were making music together. And then it was kind of like, after seeing us a couple weeks later, I don't even know how much time passed, but it wasn't much at all. But it was like, let's talk, let's keep in touch. And he's like, "Let me hear some stuff. Let me hear what you guys are doing." And we were kind of like talking about what we were starting. And next thing you know, he's like, "Yeah, I think we're not really focused like that. We're just doing doo-wop tunes. And I think Luis wants to do his own thing and do a solo thing." Yeah. And so so we were like, "Well, look, man, let's try you on some bass parts." And it turns out he's not a very good bass singer.
I can personally attest to that.
But he's a lovely human.
He's the best.
Yeah.
He's such a great hang. And he's got his role is important. It
he
throws
always
off
has
the balance of
the
group,
worst
right?
notes, by the way, to have to sing. He's always got that kind of weird clustery rubbing against the other clash note. He's just in that range where those notes seem to fall a lot.
And I remember him having a really good ear.
Yeah.
Because what he sings could be difficult to find your spot.
He's always finding that.
When I was in the studio with him, I was kind of like, at first I was like, well, what am I going to do with this guy's voice? Like, because it's so fully formed.
Yeah.
And then we just started playing, and he was, "What about it?" And I was like, I remember him saying at one point on one part of this, "I Promise You," what if I sang and he sang this note, and I thought, "Yeah, you can try it." And my brain's going, "That's going to suck." And he goes out there, and when he sang it with the other notes in the chord, I was like, damn.
Because we were at that point when we're working with you, we're pretty flushed out in our harmony.
Totally
world.
had that part down.
Yeah,
for sure.
And so, we'd end up doing like 8-9 part harmonies on songs.
I know.
We would just really layer that
triple
shit.
tracked.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, so once you have the group formed, is Lou Pearlman signing off on each of you, or is he just waiting for Chris to bring him this group?
He was in the background all along. He was just because at that point, he just wanted something to pitch, basically.
Yeah.
And so, and he had it in his mind that it had to be a 5-piece, and
because that was his
because he saw New Kids.
Right.
And he was just like, "See how that did billions and billions of dollars worth of business? You see the Spice Girls, there's 5 girls. That's a magic number. The Jackson 5, like that's a magic number to me." Like in his brain, he was like, it wasn't 4, it was 5.
Right.
So when Joey wasn't a bass singer, but he wanted to be in the group and we loved him, so we were like, let's go. We had to find another bass singer. And we ended up seducing Lance.
Yeah, it wasn't hard.
I was gonna say, it didn't seem like it was
and then once we had the 5 members, it was about putting a package together